Just north of San Francisco lies a volcano disguised as a lake, and it's still alive. Beneath peaceful waters and rolling vineyards lies a ticking time bomb, a volcanic system powerful enough to black out cities, choke the skies with ash, and trap tens of thousands with almost no warning. Clear Lake doesn't look like a volcano. There's no towering peak, no snow-capped cones. Instead, it hides in plain sight, rolling hills, forested ridges, and a massive lake that attracts tourists, campers, and weekend fishermen every year. But this calm landscape is deceiving. Beneath the surface sits a magma chamber that is very much alive. Scientists rank Clear Lake as one of the highest threat volcanic systems in the entire United States. And yet, most people driving along Highway 29 have no idea they're crossing a volcanic field capable of changing life across Northern California in a single day. At first glance, Clear Lake looks calm. Families boat across its waters, tourists hike its trails and sip wine from the nearby vineyards. But the ground tells a different story. Steam vents hiss near the shoreline, releasing superheated vapor into the air. Pockets of toxic gases bubble silently through the water, invisible hazards that can suffocate wildlife or people without warning. And just a few miles away, the Earth's heat is so intense that power plants have tapped it to generate electricity, creating the largest geothermal energy field on Earth. That energy is not harmless. It's powered directly by magma still stirring below the surface. In other words, this volcano isn't dead. It's breathing. To scientists, these aren't background noises. They're signs of unrest, a restless system quietly releasing pressure. But history has shown that when pressure builds faster than it can escape, volcanoes don't whisper, they explode. Some of the deadliest eruptions in human history, from Iceland's Laki eruption to Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines, began with small gas leaks, strange smells, and steam vents, only to escalate into regional catastrophes. The fear isn't that Clear Lake looks restless. The fear is that it could be quietly preparing for something far larger. Clear Lake's history proves that this fear isn't unfounded. This region is scarred with the evidence of firestorms long before humans ever recorded them. The Clear Lake volcanic field has been active for more than 2 million years. Eruptions reshaped valleys, created craters, and filled the landscape with thick flows of volcanic glass. One of its largest features, Mount Konocti, looms over the southern edge of the lake. To the untrained eye, it looks like just another green hill, but beneath its slopes lies solidified magma, the bones of a once roaring vent. Its last eruption, only about 11,000 years ago. In geological terms, that's yesterday. The native Pomo people preserved stories of fire mountains in their oral traditions. Legends describe the land shuddering, smoke billowing, and ash darkening the skies. Their ancestors may have lived through the final eruptions that formed the lake as we know it today. They used the obsidian left behind, razor-sharp volcanic glass, to make tools and weapons. Archaeologists have found these artifacts traded far beyond Lake County. Every blade, every shard of obsidian was once born in the violent heart of Clear Lake's volcanoes. To the Pomo, the landscape was sacred, alive, and dangerous. Modern science has confirmed what their stories already knew. This place is not safe, not permanent, and not quiet. Today, scientists keep watch with technology undreamed of by past generations. Networks of seismometers track every tremor, from tiny microquakes to noticeable jolts. Gas monitors sniff the air for carbon dioxide, sulfur, and hydrogen sulfide. Satellite radar can detect the ground swelling or sinking by just millimeters, a sign that magma is moving deep underground. And yet, even with all this technology, experts admit they might only get hours of warning before an eruption begins. Unlike well-behaved volcanoes that give months of clear rumbling, Clear Lake is what volcanologists call a stealth volcano. Its warning signs can be subtle, its behavior unpredictable, its timing impossible to nail down. The threat doesn't stop at magma. Clear Lake is saturated with volcanic gases. Carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide seep quietly through its waters and surrounding soil. They have no color, and in high concentrations, no smell. But they can suffocate animals and humans in seconds. Around the world, gas disasters have struck without a single eruption. In Cameroon in 1986, an invisible cloud of carbon dioxide burst from Lake Nyos and rolled into nearby villages, killing more than 1,700 people overnight. Clear Lake has the same chemistry, a hidden hazard sitting beside thousands of residents. And unlike lava flows, you can't outrun gas. You don't see it coming. One moment the air is normal, the next it's deadly. That's why scientists don't rank Clear Lake as a sleeping system. The danger isn't just an eruption, it's a combination of threats, earthquakes, gases, magma, and people living directly on top of it. The surrounding region makes the risk even greater. The entire area is laced with fault lines, fractures in the earth that grind under enormous pressure. Just to the west runs the San Andreas Fault, infamous for magnitude 7 and 8 earthquakes. To the south, the Hayward and Rogers Creek faults cut beneath crowded Bay Area suburbs. These aren't isolated cracks. They're connected, a deadly network transferring stress like dominoes waiting to fall. Scientists warn that a strong earthquake on any of these faults could jolt Clear Lake's magma chamber and push it closer to eruption. The history is chilling. In Iceland, a major earthquake destabilized nearby volcanoes, triggering eruptions within weeks. In the Philippines, Mount Pinatubo rumbled after swarms of earthquakes struck in the months before its 1991 explosion. In California, earthquakes and volcanoes are not separate threats. They are partners in disaster. A jolt along the San Andreas may not just damage freeways and homes. It could be the spark that wakes the giant under Clear Lake. Even if the ground stays quiet, the first signs of an eruption may not look like a Hollywood explosion. Scientists warn it might start with something subtle, a phreatic blast. This occurs when rising magma superheats groundwater, turning it into steam so violently that the ground itself rips apart. These explosions can hurl rocks, mud, and debris into the sky, raining down on anyone nearby with little or no warning. And then, if magma continues to rise, it could escalate into full eruptions. Thousands of years ago, repeated blasts and lava flows built Mount Konocti. A modern repeat could send ash plumes tens of thousands of feet high, grounding aircraft, choking skies, and blanketing cities across Northern California. The geography makes it worse. Highway 29, the main evacuation route, cuts directly through the volcanic field. A sudden blast could bury the road in debris, trapping entire towns like Clear Lake, Lower Lake, and Kelseyville. For tens of thousands of people, escape could be cut off in minutes, and the U.S. Geological Survey is blunt. Clear Lake is ranked as a high-threat volcanic system, not because it erupts often, but because when it does, the consequences will be immediate, violent, and widespread. And those consequences would not stop at Lake County. Less than 100 miles south lies the Bay Area, home to millions of people and one of the busiest economic engines in America. Hazard models show how even a moderate eruption at Clear Lake could send volcanic ash drifting into San Francisco, Oakland, and Sacramento. Bridges, airports, and power lines could be choked with fine, abrasive dust. Jet engines would clog, solar panels would stop working, power stations could spark and fail. Flights across the West Coast could be grounded within hours. The same magma that fuels Clear Lake also powers the geysers, the largest geothermal energy complex on Earth. In normal times, those plants generate electricity for nearly 1 million Californians. In a volcanic crisis, they could become liabilities. Pipelines could rupture, turbines might seize, high-voltage transmission lines could fail, plunging entire regions into blackout, exactly when power and communication would be most critical. Emergency planners fear a chain reaction. Highways clogged with evacuees, airports shut down, power grids collapsing, and hundreds of thousands stranded in chaos. And the most terrifying part, Clear Lake's next eruption might not give weeks of warning. It could escalate in a matter of hours. The first signs would be easy to miss. A swarm of small earthquakes rippling beneath the lake, hundreds of tremors in quick succession. To geologists, these are the footsteps of magma on the move. Gas monitors might detect sudden spikes of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. Steam vents could tear open, releasing hissing vapor that burns at the touch. On the surface, it might just look like a crack in the dirt or a pool of boiling mud. But underground, it would be the sound of magma rising, pushing closer to the surface. These signs could play out over weeks, or they could collapse into explosive activity in just a few hours. For the people living around Clear Lake, that means there may be no real time to flee. And even with today's monitoring networks, scientists admit they cannot guarantee enough warning, which means the only real defense is preparedness. But California's escape plan is fragile. The main evacuation lifeline runs directly across the volcanic field. A sudden blast could bury it, trapping thousands. Imagine cars locked in gridlock as ash begins to fall, evacuation turning into entrapment. Meanwhile, Clear Lake's water systems supply communities across the region. Ashfall could contaminate reservoirs and clog treatment plants, leaving tens of thousands without safe drinking water. At the same time, power grids could collapse, homes and hospitals plunged into darkness, communication cut, the internet down, no emergency alerts, no way to call for help. The chain reaction is easy to imagine. Clogged highways, grounded flights, blackouts, contaminated water, all sparked by a volcano most Californians don't even realize exists. Clear Lake is what scientists call a stealth volcano, hidden, overlooked, and easy to ignore until it's too late. It doesn't look like a volcano. There's no towering cone, no snow-capped peak on the horizon. That's what makes it so dangerous. It hides in plain sight. Scientists at the U.S. Geological Survey say the magma chamber beneath Clear Lake is still active, still restless, and still capable of erupting again. The only unknown is when. It could be centuries from now, or it could begin tomorrow with a swarm of earthquakes, a sudden spike in gas, or a steam blast ripping open the earth. And if it happens, it won't just threaten Lake County. The chain reaction could ripple across the Bay Area, disrupting airports, highways, power grids, and water systems that millions of people depend on every single day. That is why Clear Lake is terrifying. Not because it erupts often, but because when it finally does, the impact could spread far beyond the lake itself. So here's the question. If Clear Lake woke up tomorrow, would California be ready? Or would it catch millions completely off guard? But what would it actually look like if Clear Lake erupted today? Scientists run computer models to simulate possible outcomes, and the scenarios are unsettling. In the best case, a small dome eruption might slowly ooze lava, damaging property, but giving people time to escape. But even this mild scenario could poison the air with gases, contaminate water, and disrupt the region's power grid for weeks. Wineries might lose entire harvests, homes could be abandoned for months, and tourism, the lifeblood of Lake County, would collapse overnight. A moderate eruption could be far worse. Volcanologists warn that an ash plume rising tens of thousands of feet could reach the Bay Area in hours. Fine ash is deceptively dangerous. It's not like soft fireplace ash. It's tiny shards of volcanic glass, sharp enough to slice lungs, clog engines, and destroy electronics. Breathing it in feels like inhaling ground-up sandpaper. For airports, it's catastrophic. Jet engines fail when ash melts inside turbines. In such a scenario, San Francisco International, Oakland, and Sacramento airports could shut down within a day. Hundreds of flights canceled, millions stranded. And then there's the worst case, a violent explosion like Mount St. Helens in 1980. Scientists admit it's unlikely, but not impossible. A blast of that magnitude at Clear Lake would erase entire towns in seconds. Pyroclastic flows, clouds of ash and gas moving faster than a jet plane, could sweep across Lake County, burning everything in their path. Evacuation would be impossible. Survivors miles away would face weeks of darkness as ash blotted out the sun, choking crops, killing livestock, and collapsing roofs under its weight. The Bay Area's 7 million residents would find their world paralyzed, and the economic shock would ripple across the country. That's why preparedness is not just a local issue, it's a state and national concern. Yet talk to residents in Lake County and many will tell you they've never been given a clear evacuation plan. There are no regular volcano drills, no emergency sirens dedicated to volcanic activity. For most, the idea that Clear Lake is a volcano at all comes as a surprise. Some shrug it off as just another distant worry in a state already juggling wildfires, droughts, and earthquakes. Others laugh nervously, asking how you're supposed to prepare for something that might never happen in your lifetime. But the truth is simple. It will happen in someone's lifetime. The volcano hasn't died. It has only been quiet. Emergency managers quietly admit that Lake County would struggle in a full-scale eruption. Limited hospitals, rural highways, and fragile infrastructure make large-scale evacuation nearly impossible. Neighboring counties, already burdened by their own wildfire evacuations, would be forced to absorb tens of thousands of refugees. Shelters would overflow. Water and power could be disrupted for weeks. And while scientists stress that there's no sign of immediate eruption, the danger lies in complacency. Waiting until the first blast of steam to react would be far too late. Perhaps the most haunting truth is this: Clear Lake may not erupt tomorrow or next year, or even in the next century, but the system is alive. It will erupt again, and when it does, it won't just be Lake County's problem. It will be California's, America's, and perhaps even the world's. A reminder that beneath our highways and vineyards, our lakes and vacation cabins, the earth is never truly still. Clear Lake sits quietly for now, its waters reflecting the sky, its hills rolling green. But beneath that peaceful mask, a giant waits. Not if, but when